She stepped back, her movements frantic and hands shaking. You, you are so different. Jungkook, that's why I told you to stay out of it. I might be real different for the world, but for you, I am who I showed you past 7 months. I love you. I can never see you hurt. Please don't put me in this state where I'm forced to do anything. Wyan, anything? What will you do if I refuse to come along? Jungkook hated the fear her eyes reflected towards him. He's so used to the love that shone in her eyes towards him that this feeling felt so foreign. It crawled against his skin, making him want to rip his skin off till this feeling disappears. Jungkook, what do you want me to do, Ian? His voice loud, getting impatient. Wine, leave me alone or leave this work. She wiped her tears, a sudden flare of anger rising in her. Come back when you reach a decision. She said, stressed every word out. Her heart broke at her own words, but she couldn't live all in love and happy when some innocent in the world was getting killed, paying the price of her happiness. She turned around to leave, but Jungkook's patience had ran out already. He grabbed her wrist and threw her above his shoulder. She screamed and hit his shoulders. One, let me go, Jungkook. You can't force me. If only her scream affected him one bit. He could burn the whole world if she asked him to, but he can't leave this world. The moment he steps out of it, he will be killed in the most brutal way along with Vine. But she was not understanding this. He forced her in his car and sat in beside her, ordering the driver to drive off. Vine, let me go, Jungkook. I swear I am. She thrashed around trying to pry him off. He was trying to be gentle, but then he gripped her wrist, forcefully putting them on seat behind her head as he hovered above her. Jungkook, why can't you understand, damn it? She flinched, voice disappearing, exchanging with fear once over again. Jungkook has never once raised his voice at her before. Like she said, he was so different. Not the Jungkook who touched her as if she will break, or protected her from the world. The one who would hide her in his arms and stay awake whole night only to listen to her rambling about her day or things she wanted to do or a movie she watched, and now she was frustrated over how it ended. Jungkook's eyes darkened up at the sight. As much as he hated it, he couldn't step back from this. He leaned down and kissed her forehead, listening to her silent sobs. Each tear that escaped her eye left a piercing stab deep down his heart. I would never force anything on you, but you are asking my life, and I can't protect you if I die. Once the two reached home, Jungkook took her back to his room, holding her in his arms bridal style. Wine hadn't said a word, it scared Jungkook. As much as he hated her asking to stay away, he despised his Wine more. She was his only weakness, and she was so aware of it. He put her down on their bed and covered her with sheets. Resting himself beside her, he brushed his hands through her hair. No emotion affected her eyes as she stared at the ceiling like a zombie. It did nothing but ripped his heart apart. Jungkook, I was born this way, raised this way. It runs in my blood. You're asking me to burn every drop of blood that flows through me, and I will do that. His voice cracked at the end as his eyes lingered on her. Jungkook, I would burn myself for you, but I can't put you in danger. I have enough enemies to die the next moment I stop this, and what they will do to you dreads me. A tear rolled down her eye. He didn't like it, but he was glad to see emotion flickering through her. Why killing innocent people involves in your work? Her voice was so broke. If Jungkook was not raised this way, he would have cried by this point. Jungkook, I don't kill innocent people, Ryan. You were talking about the news earlier. What makes you think the news are not twisted for ratings? There's no way in hell they are aware of the actual thing. He held her cheeks and gently shifted her to look at him. Jungkook, look at me, please. Mine did, and it broke a part of her somewhere when she saw his eyes. They were red, and they looked so hard. She had never seen Jungkook at that state before. If he was someone the world dreads, he was also the same person who would get down on his knees for her. It was her who ruled his heart, and she never wanted to take a wrong advantage of that. Jungkook, if there's something, you come talk to me. Don't ever leave me again. You have a problem with me killing innocent people? I don't. I never do that low move. He took in a deep breath. He was not going to say it, but everything was fair when you are hanging by the edge of cliff. Jungkook, like I said, you are not safe. Same goes to everyone that relates you and me. They targeted your parents. A few of my men who were guarding them were killed the same way they were killed. Wine sat up, her eyes widening in fear at the mention of her parents. Wine, what? They no. Jungkook, they're fine. They are fine. I will protect them over everything like I will protect you. They're fine, trust me. He tried to calm her panic down as he held her in his arms. It felt like he was back home after an eternity. Wine clutched onto his shirt as she cried out. Wine, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I thought I was going to die staying away from you. She said in between her sobs as Jungkook tightened his hold around her, completely hiding her fragile frame in his big bulky arms. Jungkook, I would never let that happen. He stayed there, keeping her in his arms for as much as she wanted. An hour passed by. When he looked down at her and brushed her hair off her face, she was sleeping, tears dried on her cheeks and nose red from crying. Jungkook, this is the only time I see you crying, Ryan. Let her sleep, and when he was finally at relief that she was not going anywhere, he could think of other things, like finding that source who blew the news to the media. He could always stop the thing from reaching the media, but he hadn't think it would reach Ryan's ears. He was careless, and swear on him he was never going to do that again. But for now, he was going to find the source and burn everyone who was behind it with his own hands. He must have promised he won't hurt an innocent, but once could be an exception. Promises were always meant to break when it included hurting her, and right now it was beyond the pain he ever wanted to see her in. The following evening, when Vian woke up surrounded by the warmth and familiar protectiveness provided by her husband, she felt her sore muscles relaxing. It teared her remembering how she asked him to leave her alone, while all he did was protecting her. Jungkook, you're awake. She smiled as she looked at him, who had his whole attention on her. She didn't know for how many hours she slept, but he was still in the same position she left him. Wine. Mm-hmm. And I'm hungry. If I don't get any food in next 5 minutes, I might eat you. A smile appeared on his lips. He kissed her temple, all the pain from before dying somewhere. Jungkook, I like the second option better. Shall I starve you? Wine laughed lazily, pinching his bicep with her little lazy force. Wine, You horny man. Jungkook, you sleepy woman. He picked her up and walked towards the washroom. The food is ready, he said as he put her on counter and helped her brush her teeth. The way he looked at her, held her, treated her, as if he got his most precious gem. The whole time Wine slept, Jungkook hadn't moved from his place. He, however, got his work done, or he wouldn't be content right now. Gotten rid of every person who was involved in spreading the news and making sure next time it never goes out. Wine was too innocent for him, and like a gentleman, to keep her innocence, he might have let her go. But this was the thing about him. He was no gentleman, and he was certainly not the one to let go of his sinful ways. He knew how to protect her, and he was going to do it his way. He held her as she kept worrying about the eye bags forming under her eyes due to crying so much. A hit, or two, or three, or maybe 10 on his chest might have consoled her, except for it didn't. Wine, it's all because of you. Although Jungkook took it without any complaints, but who was going to play with her? His hand, which had a bite of food, stopped midway. Jungkook, excuse me, lady, I am offended. Wine, as you should. She took the bite as Jungkook fed her. Jungkook, baby, you know I respect you. Wine, yes? What's with the sudden change? She pouted. Jungkook, good. Jungkook said as he fed her another bite of food. Because once we are done, I'm going to F you with nothing but disrespect. Wine's cheeks turned red as she almost choked on her food had she not swallowed it already. Jungkook smirked and fed her more, and the two talked and laughed about different things. No one mentioned what happened earlier, and they were happy about it. Jungkook makes sure nothing ever harms her again, let it be physical or mental, and Wine made her promise to never get in his work again.